D. Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you, live at Bridgestone Arena. Predators versus Blues tonight at 7 o'clock. Of course, right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick will be along momentarily. Happy opening day of Major League Baseball to all of those of you who celebrate. I know Willie is probably incredibly excited about his Mets.
Okay.
Yes.
Here is the question, because everybody, and this has been thrown out there before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm the originator of the question or some light bulb came on, atop my head as it does in cartoons. But this is really not the opening day. The opening day happens, a week ago? Somewhere around there, a week and a half, in Japan. Yes.
Yeah.
So because that counts toward your record, right? Now, if it didn't count towards your record, then it's called it should be deemed an exhibition, the first exhibition game of the season, or the first or the last exhibition game of the season. But to say this is now the opening day, well, technically it's not, because who was it? The
Technically,
Dodgers?
you're wrong.
The Dodgers played over there?
I believe it was the Dodgers.
It was in the Cubs.
In the Cubs.
So their fan base, their season already started.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm just saying,
Technically, you are correct. But this is opening day in America. Not to take away what happens in Japan. Those games do count. But today feels like the traditional opening day in Major League Baseball. It's similar to what the NHL does sometimes. Remember a few years ago, the Predators opened the season with 2 games in Prague against the San Jose Sharks. And those games happened several days before the rest of the league opened its schedule.
Yes.
So although that was opening day / night for the Predators and Sharks, it didn't really feel like NHL opening day. And that's how I feel about this. Not to take away from the games that were played abroad, but today truly feels like opening day. The majority of the teams in Major League Baseball are opening today. It feels like today is opening day. So I'm going to stick by happy opening day.
But technically, it's not, because opening day was in Japan. The Cubs and the Dodgers. Cub fans, Dodger fans, didn't y'all care about that game? Because why? It may come down to the end of the season, and that game right there may decide on who wins the division and who doesn't.
You're just
in
wrong,
their respective divisions.
Tomato. Happy opening day to all those
I'm just messing with y'all.
We don't need a Grinch for baseball now.
I'm just messing with y'all.
But we have MLB opening day. The NCAA tournament resumes tonight. The Sweet 16 today and tomorrow. Predators are on the ice tonight against the St. Louis Blues for the 3rd time in a week and a half. So there's a lot going on around here and in the sports world. Also happening in the sports world, the Tennessee Titans. And what to do with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Cam Ward had his bro day on Monday. And shortly thereafter, there was a report from Adam Schefter, which Teron Davenport wrote about at ESPN.com. And Teron wrote, quote, "The Titans plan to hold an additional private workout and throwing session with Ward, whom the team has become increasingly impressed with," sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter on Tuesday. Tennessee is still willing to listen to offers for the first pick, but it will now take an even stronger package for the Titans to move down, the sources told Schefter. So that was Tuesday. Adam Schefter was on NFL Live yesterday. This is what Adam Schefter said yesterday about the Titans and the number 1 pick in the draft.
Also heard the Titans general manager, Mike Borgonzi, say that he's open to anything. And so he's going to be listening to phone calls. It doesn't mean that the Giants will be able to make it up to 1. But I expect the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants both to make calls And let's see if there's a team that can come up with an offer that the Titans can't pass up. Yes, the Titans absolutely do like Cam Ward. Yes, they're ready to take him. But these teams have 1 month to try to change Tennessee's mind and make an offer compelling enough to move Tennessee, which has a ton of holes on its roster, off the number 1 pick.
That was Adam Schefter yesterday. Mike Borgonzi is quote unquote open to anything. And it led me to an article, Derek, written by Mike Florio yesterday with the headline, Titans send mixed signals about Cam Ward. And this was what Mike Florio wrote at Pro Football Talk, quote, why is the door even open to a possible trade? If they think Ward is the guy, they need to make it clear to anyone who might call that there won't be a trade. That's what the Bengals did 5 years ago with Joe Burrow. The Dolphins were obsessed with trading up to get Burrow. The Bengals refused to even listen. Of course, we argued at the time that the Bengals should listen, that they should be willing to consider what else they could get for the pick, because it wasn't 100% certain that they'd be getting a franchise quarterback in Burrow. But the Bengals were sold on Burrow, and the Titans apparently are sold on Ward. If they were as sold on Ward as the Bengals were sold on Burrow, they'd be refusing to listen.
I'm just going to say this. Everything, just about, let's just think of things imaginable. I'm not talking about some extreme things. But majority of the things in this world are, listen, you want to buy it for sale. Everything is for sale at the right price. I understand last year's, draft was a draft littered with guys that you felt you can lead your, that can lead your franchise for the next 15 years. And I understand the Joe Burrow thing where he was just going to be a surefire thing. So we're not trading him. But I guarantee you, if somebody gave them a deal so astronomical, so out of this world you've never seen, that would trump the Herschel Walker deal, and for those that remember the Herschel Walker deal, will trump the Herschel Walker deal and any other deal that comes that have been before that one or after that one. If I position that to you or proposition that to you or propose that to you, yeah, you're gonna make me think. You really going to, but no one was going to go to those lengths, because they had it in their mind made up that, okay, we're drafting this guy. I know you're not going to give me anything crazy, so we're drafting this guy, and rightfully so. Draft him, let him become who he's going to become. And so far, Joe Burrow has been everything and some. But in the Titans situation, that doesn't mean that the Titans don't really like Cam Ward. But they understand that, listen, we got some holes in our roster we need to fill. There's this 100 pick, so many picks within the first 100 in so many years. We want to try to attain that. So as much as we like Cam, we don't like the number 1 pick, period. It don't, because they can just as well say, I want Abdul Carter or I want Travis Hunter, so I ain't trading out of this for nothing. They don't consider the draft, period. They're just looking at the number 1 pick. And that number 1 pick has more value than that person. So it's like, listen, regardless of who's in the draft, what are you willing to move up to this pick? Because I'm not going to move too far back and not still be able to get the guy that I want or the 2 guys that I want. So to me, I think they like Cam. And I think if no one presents a deal they can't walk away from the table, then they're going to draft Cam. They're not going to draft Hunter. They're not going to draft Abdul Carter. They're not going to draft anybody but Cam Ward. I feel good about that. If that's the way I believe the Titans are approaching it. Not to say that they won't trade out of that pick. You offer them something good, they'll trade out of it. Why? Because if you're trading to get Cam Ward, you're getting Cam Ward. But who's to say you're trading up to get Cam Ward? Maybe you're trading up because you believe the Cleveland Browns are going to take Travis Hunter or they're going to take Abdul Carter. You want that person. So what are you going to do? You're going to move up to number 1 and get him.
You said the other day you were asked by a caller to make a declaration as to what the Titans are going to do with the number 1 pick. And you said that the Titans are comfortable taking Cam Ward. They like Cam Ward. They may not love Cam Ward, but they are comfortable taking Cam Ward. However, if a team were to knock their collective socks off with a deal, they would have no issue trading the number 1 pick.
Absolutely. And to me, isn't that what you want this new regime to be about? You know, taking calculated risk to say, okay, if you offer us something that, or the things that we've been asking for, then okay, you can move up to number 1 because you're giving us, you know, what we are wanting, you know, in regards to that goal that we set, the 100 picks, you know, within the first 100 in so many years. You're allowing us to obtain, to get closer to that goal. But if you don't, us driving Cam Ward puts us closer to that goal of competing as well. So you can have it both ways. It doesn't have to be either or. One or the other, I mean.
Mike Florio continues in his story at Pro Football Talk. Quote, the concern comes from the lack of subtlety. It's one thing for the Titans to conclude privately that the price for the first pick has gone up. It's another thing for the information to be presented in a way that feels like a deliberate leak. That feels like an effort to get a better trade package, not so that they can reject it, but so that they can accept it. That feels like they're hoping someone will make them an offer they can't refuse.
Again, yes, this whole process is to, you know, drum up interest. Just, okay, if I'm in that situation, I know I like Cam Ward. I know that, hey, listen, if I stay at this number 1, this is my guy. I'm not worried about or thinking about anybody else. This is my guy right here. I'm taking him. But I am allowed to hype this up even more. I am allowed to let some things leak. I am allowed to possibly show my emotions, whereas before you see GMs don't really show their emotion. I'm allowed to do that. Why? Because it pumps up the idea that I'm taking him. So if anybody else wants him, come on and get him. Or come on and get the pick. Not necessarily him, get the pick. If you believe that much, then come on up here and get this pick. But if not, we're okay with taking Cam Ward because we believe he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future.
Right. I said the other day when we were discussing Cam Ward's pro day, and we listed all of the people from the Titans front office that attended this pro day: Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi, Brian Callahan, Dave Ziegler, Reggie McKenzie, Bo Hardigree, Nick Holes, AJ Highsmith, all of these important people. And it said to me, if they weren't sold on Cam Ward, I don't think, again, the operative word being think, I don't think that they would have sent everybody to the pro day. I'm not sure about that. Now, the flip side of that could be, well, it was a calculated move to show all of the other teams that were at the pro day, hey, man, we really love Cam Ward. And if you want Cam Ward, you're going to really have to impress us. Like they're playing 4D chess and the rest of the team, the rest of the league is playing checkers. And look, maybe Mike Borgonzi, he's what's the word I'm looking for here? He's a quiet genius. I don't know what the term I'm looking for here. Maybe he is playing 4D chess while the rest of the league is playing checkers. But to me, at first glance, I thought if the Titans are sending everybody there, it's got to be because they really like this guy. So maybe it's all a ploy to drum up interest, but I still am pretty confident that it's going to end up being Cam Ward. Now, it could also end up being Cam Ward because other teams are not willing to make, because this is an argument that we've seen on the text line. And actually, We do have a text to that effect from Jared in Spring Hill on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Titans ain't convinced with Ward. If they were, they would be open. They wouldn't be open to anything. But no team is that dumb to give an arm and a leg for Ward. But you're banking on someone to offer something stupid. How many teams are that stupid that the Titans can place?
Okay, so you're basically saying the world is stupid. That's what you're saying. Because I equate it to this, plain and simple. Let's just break it down to its, sort of,
It's essence.
Its essence, or its elementary form. It's like selling, sneaker heads out there. Understand? It's like selling shoes. It's like, you know what the shoe is worth, but in this climate, you're gonna bump it up. You like the shoe, you bought it, you like the shoe, you will keep the shoe, but if the shoe is worth $450, and that's pretty high, and that's like, okay, if I keep this shoe a little bit longer, or keep it for the next 5-10 years like sneakerheads do, and don't open it, that shoe may end up, in 10 years being worth $1,000, possibly even more. So I got it at $250, and I'm cool with keeping it. But if somebody want to buy it right now at, say, $1,500, $2,000, probably even more than that, then I'm like, okay, take the shoe, because I can now buy a whole bunch of other shoes and do the same thing. It's basic math in a sense. That's all it is. It's like, I love the pick. I love Cam Ward, and I'm going to take him. But let's just see what somebody's willing to move up to this number one spot. And if they don't, I love the guy anyway, so I'm taking him. It's as simple as that. And I think sometimes we try to think that, they're outsmarting someone. They're not out. The same thing is, listen, Adam, the same thing we're thinking, and we don't proclaim to be the brightest when it comes to these sports. Don't you think that's the same thing those other GMs are thinking? So, in essence, we're not saying anything that they're not thinking already. They're just not saying it out loud. So we didn't come up with no epiphany, or all of us came together as a conglomerate amongst the media world and say, bam, we got it. This is why the Titans are doing what they're doing. No, they know it too. It's nothing new.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on Adam Schefter's report that the Titans and Mike Borgonzi are quote-unquote open to anything as it relates to the number one pick in the NFL draft. 615-737-1025. Let's give away some tickets now, shall we? Be caller number 2 at 615-737-1025. And you will win a pair of tickets to see the Nashville Predators take on the Vegas Golden Knights this Saturday night at Bridgestone Arena. So be caller number 2. Again, 615-737-1025, and you will win tickets to see the Golden Knights visit the Predators, a 5:30 start on Saturday. 615-737-1025. We will continue the conversation next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Yeah, I do think sometimes we have to take a step back from all the noise and go back to our evaluation. Cam Ward's a damn good quarterback. Cam Ward has the traits, if developed properly, to be a really good starting quarterback in the NFL. Cam Ward is not Caleb Williams coming out of USC. He's not Jaden Daniels coming out of LSU. Right. He's not Drake May coming out of North Carolina. Okay. So you can love it. It can be two things. We talk about this a lot. Like both things can be true. You can really, really like him and fall in love with him, but also stay rational and say, well, he's not those three guys from a year ago. And so if someone were to offer something outrageous, of course, we're going to listen.
Right.
Whereas I think a year ago wouldn't have mattered. The Chicago Bears, what you offered. It wouldn't have mattered for the Washington Commanders what you would have offered it to. It wouldn't have mattered for the Patriots at 3, I don't think.
Right.
That's the conviction. And I don't know what their conviction level is. Okay. And only a few people in that building actually know at this point.
Right.
But it seems like they're closing in on a decision. And that part's interesting to me.
That was Todd McShay on his new podcast talking about the Titans decision with Cam Ward. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you at Bridgestone Arena. Predators and Blues once again tonight at 7 o'clock. And I'm listening to that clip, Derek, and he's talking about how Cam Ward, he's not Caleb Williams. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not Drake May. And this is what I think a lot of Titans fans are feeling. If the Titans decide to take Cam Ward, because the consensus is that Cam Ward is not any of those prospects. And by the way, I did what I thought was an interesting exercise with recent quarterback prospects. We'll get into that a little bit later. But because Cam Ward is not those three players, that if the Titans take Cam Ward, they're making a mistake. So I've said this before. It does kind of feel like a lose-lose proposition for the Titans in some capacity. But I do agree with what McShay said there, that two things can be true. That the Titans can like Cam Ward, but they're keeping their ears to the ground in case one of these other teams makes them a Titanic offer. What was interesting yesterday, Derek, was that the Cleveland Browns held a private workout for Cam Ward. The team owner was there. The GM was there. The head coach was there. Cleveland has the number 2 overall pick in the draft. Perhaps it's just the Browns doing their due diligence just in case Cam Ward ends up available to them at number 2. Maybe they're one of those teams that decides that they can't miss out on Cam Ward and are willing to make a trade to move up one spot. But it is a really interesting situation. But to your point earlier, Skylar on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com says, I love my dirt bike, but if somebody offers me $10,000 for it, I'll drive it to your house for you.
And that's my point. Like, listen, I understand that, and that podcast sort of summed it up perfectly. I understand that everybody wants a Peyton Manning. Let's just start right there. Everybody wants a Peyton Manning. I understand that. Everybody wants a Tom Brady, even though Tom Brady, you ain't getting too many Tom Bradys that late in a draft. But everybody, wants a Joe Burrow. Everybody wants a Matthew Stafford. Everybody wants that guy that can lead a Jalen Hurts, whichever quarterback that has led them to a Super Bowl. Everybody wants that guy. But do you think that, because Washington didn't think Jaden Daniels was Joe Burrow, they wasn't going to draft him? They still was going to draft him. They probably didn't think he was Joe Burrow, but they felt in their minds, we can win with this guy. He can be our franchise quarterback. And that is what I think is the fault in all of this. And I've said this before. Everybody wants a Patrick Mahomes. but there ain't too many Patrick Mahomes out there. So if you know that to be the case, which every GM knows it, how close can I get to a Patrick Mahomes? Or can I win with a Jalen Hurts? Can I win with a Nick Foles? Those are things that GMs think about. You can't always get a Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow. That guy is not coming out in every draft. But you can get you a Jaden Daniels. You can get you a Matthew Stafford. It took Matthew Stafford, 12 years to finally win the Super Bowl? 13 years, somewhere around there. You can get you a Matthew Stafford. What is wrong with that? And Cam Ward can just as well be Matthew Stafford. He's not flashy or anything else. He's good to win you games. But if you put a team around him, more of a team around him, like the LA Rams did, now he's going to be the guy. You don't have to worry about him because he's going to do his job. Cam Ward can just be that. That's okay with me. He doesn't need to be Manning. He doesn't need to be Tom, even though Tom was drafted in a later round. He doesn't need to be Joe Burrow. I want him to be Jalen Hurts.
Let's bring Willie Donick into this as he maneuvers his microphone.
Yeah.
It's a maze of wires down here, everybody.
Yeah.
We got a problem.
Yeah.
Houston, we have a
We have a
problem.
problem.
We got some wire issues. Good
Yes,
grief.
big time.
We'll continue.
This is like the 1980s before the cordless phone, when your mom would be stretched all the way across to the laundry room, and then or your brother or sister wants to talk to somebody privately. They're like closing the door to the bathroom, and the cord's like all the way across the room.
Yes.
We got an issue here.
I was
Okay.
reminded recently. This has nothing to do with phones with cords. But there was a time
Yes.
when if you had a cell phone, you had minutes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You only had
Yes.
so many minutes, but they were free after 9 o'clock. So if you wanted to call your girlfriend to be on the phone all night, you had to wait until 9 o'clock.
Aha.
So
Hey,
I digress.
but the key word
Times of the past.
that was no struggle. They had a cell phone. That's no struggle.
All right, no,
To
Oh,
be
they had to
fair-
pay for some minutes.
to be fair, it was one of those Nokia brick phones. It
We
wasn't-
had to take turns on the
Yeah.
phone.
Right. You're like, get off the phone.
Exactly.
I gotta call.
You don't remember the days where you had dial-up internet and you went to pick up the phone and you heard, Adam, get off the internet.
Oh man.
I was just chatting away on AOL Instant Messenger with my screen name back with a vengeance, as we've previously discussed. But speaking of signals, Willie Donick, let's bring you into this conversation. Mike Florio did have an article at Pro Football Talk yesterday with the headline, Titans send mixed signals about Cam Ward, about the report from Adam Schefter that the Titans are open to trading the pick despite sending every member of the front office to Miami's pro day. Do you think the Titans are sending mixed signals about what they're going to do at number one? And is that a good thing?
They
that
should
they're
be.
sending mixed
They should be
signals?
sending mixed signals. That's the whole point of the card game. It's a game of poker. It would not be good unless they were 100% true. Like, I remember the first time they ever had the NBA lottery. D-Mates, I don't know if you can remember this, but they never. I don't think any other sport had the lottery either.
Yeah,
But they had a
I think
they had a
were the
lottery.
first.
And Patrick Ewing was the guy, right? It was the
He was
height
the
of
first lottery guy.
it was the height of
I
it was
think.
the height of the Georgetown thing. So
Mhm.
Patrick Ewing played 4 years of college, which never would happen today.
And
Right? A guy that
everybody
good.
wanted Pat.
Yeah, he was hands down the first pick. Like
Mhm.
so, in that situation, the Knicks won the lottery.
Mhm.
They already had the Patrick Ewing jersey, right? They brought it out. They had Ewing 33 all ready to go. And they didn't make any secret of it because it was that clear cut. It happened a few years later when Shaq came out and the Magic won the
Yeah.
lottery. They had the Shaq jersey. Everybody was
Exactly.
picking Shaq. It was, and this year is not as clear cut in football.
Mhm.
So therefore, you absolutely would. I think you should have a strategy every day at how you're going to send mixed signals and try to leverage the pick as best you can. That's what I've been saying.
So Charles Robinson, who's on Robbie and Rex Road every Thursday, a couple of days ago, he wrote at Yahoo Sports about Cam Ward's pro day and talked about the signs that the Titans now appear to be focusing on choosing Cam Ward as opposed to trading the pick. He mentioned, first and foremost, Tennessee's total lack of involvement in chasing a serious candidate to take the starting job from Will Levis. Tim Boyle, welcome to town. Brandon Allen, you're already here. Will Levis, you're here for now. So that was number one. Number two, he also mentioned multiple league sources have told Yahoo Sports the Titans are out on Levis as a starting candidate and have speculated that Tennessee could make him available in the lead up to the draft or afterward, which is not a surprise. He also mentions this. This is an odd but often accurate data point. The Titans didn't bring only their heavy hitters from personnel and coaching to watch Ward's workout. They also brought a portion of their in-house social media team to the workout, which has in recent years been a staple move when teams holding the top overall pick have focused on a quarterback. So I do believe the Titans had videographers at the pro day. Jim Wyatt was there as well. And wouldn't it be a waste if they got all of this great footage on Cam Ward that never sees the light of day? They put in all of that work. And it's just like, well, we're not drafting Cam Ward, so delete that off the hard drive.
I mean, I look at
it could happen.
It could happen. I look at it from the standpoint again. They like him. And they feel comfortable more than likely with drafting him. But if someone comes in, and they're not going to make any qualms about it, but if someone comes in and offers them something they cannot refuse, because again, there are goals or things they want to get done in this journey, and maybe you could do them both at the same time. Maybe one sort of leapfrogs the other for now, and if we have an opportunity, even though we love Cam and we will draft him, but if somebody offers us something crazy, I do need to sit back and discuss it amongst everyone. Like, okay, this is what they're offering. This is what we're going to do. Both of them puts us on that road to getting back to where we want to be. But which one are we going to take right now?
You want to be choosing one of two good options.
Absolutely. Right. And I think that's where the Titans feel they are at right now.
That when you have the first pick, that's the seat you want to be
exactly
in. And that would be the shame of it, is if they were like, man, we really got to act like we like Cam Ward.
Exactly.
Because we don't really want to pay it. We got to hope that somebody calls us and offers us something good. Like the best case is, hey, we really like Ward. We would be willing to take him, but we're not putting all the eggs there. We're open to other options.
Isn't that what you want a good GM to do?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's what you want.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on Adam Schefter's report from yesterday that Mike Borgonzi is, quote unquote, open to anything as it relates to the number one pick. 615-737-1025. I also want to let all of you know that D-Mace, Vengan, and Donick is proudly presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Coming up next, speaking of Adam Schefter, a new report about another highly touted draft prospect. We will get to that next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you at Bridgestone Arena. Predators versus Blues, Part 3 in the past week and a half. Coming up later tonight, puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. So we're talking Cam Ward. But Adam Schefter has a new report about another highly touted draft prospect. According to Adam Schefter, edge rusher and top prospect Abdul Carter will not work out at Penn State's Pro Day on Friday, per agent Drew Rosenhaus. Quote from Rosenhaus, he is still finishing up rehab on the shoulder injury he had from the Boise State game. He may still do a workout for teams sometime in mid-April. So Abdul Carter,
Nothing about the foot.
I'm not touching him. I'm not touching him.
at all.
Really?
If he falls,
How far?
if he
He's
falls,
not making it out of the first round.
if he falls, possibly if you can maneuver back up and get him with a second round pick or something else. But listen,
So you're worried.
you have to be, because the two things that make a pass rusher, or two of the few things that makes a damn good pass rusher, he's having problems with his foot, for number one. And I guarantee you that's probably the real reason why he ain't working out. It's the foot. So the foot, number one, and then he's still rehabbing from a shoulder. I need you to be explosive. So you're going to come in already damaged goods. And I probably got to wait another 4 year for you to become close to that player that you want to. And it may not happen. You coming in with a foot injury and a shoulder surgery. Whew, man, I'm not.
Did he have surgery on the shoulder?
Yeah, I guess they said he did, because they said he rehabbing from it. So I guess he is having. But wouldn't that be especially the Titans fans who want the Titans to get so far away from drafting hurt guys?
I know.
It's pathetic.
It would be the narrative.
Exactly.
But it was a big thing about Sweat. And
I get
he
it.
Played the whole time.
I get it. But Sweat was more so his weight.
Right.
And they managed his weight. But even though he played a lot of plays in Texas, even at that weight, he showed you can play at that weight.
It does not
But there were
appear,
still some concerns. But the foot,
it does not appear, by the way, that he had shoulder surgery.
so he's still so what is he rehabbing? They throw his shoulder. Is he still rehabbing from the
That's why I'm
shoulder?
thinking I'm kind
I'm
of
thinking exactly it's the
it
foot.
might be more the foot.
So if it's more than a foot, if it's not the shoulder that you didn't have surgery on, but I understand you probably still rehabbing it slowly. I get that.
But the other part of it might be, is he going to eventually need surgery if it's loose, or if it's, he's trying to rehab it and avoid a surgery
Yes.
that would really set him back. But then he gets to camp and you look at it, you do your physical, and you're like, this is a time bomb here.
The Titans-
This can happen.
The
I've seen
Titans
it
fans would be livid.
Yeah, you see it with football. You see it definitely with hockey.
Yes.
Shoulders, where a guy will try to keep it together to play. Like, you have to admire.
Yeah.
Everybody was buzzing about him because he was playing with one arm
Mhm.
and still dominating in the college football playoffs. And so he gets commended for that, playing through it. But now you're like, oh, well, we don't want him because his shoulders hurt. So I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised that you're that down, that you would run away from him.
Yeah, I would not touch him in
I need the
just
info.
couldn't.
Like, we really
Yeah.
need good medical info to say this is the issue here.
Because if I'm a Titan fan again, I would be red flags and alarms will go off. And what it would look, because you got to look at it through their eyes. And I get it, the GM, they shouldn't be worried about the fan, but I'm just talking about from a fan base standpoint. And the Titans track record with that. All they see is foot, shoulder. He didn't run. Jared would bring this up all the time about the late great Floyd Reese. No, he didn't run the 40. He said that about Corey Davis. Didn't run the 40. Didn't run.
Yeah.
And I was like, the dude didn't run the 40. And he's a receiver. That's what I want to see. And what happened? He didn't have that extra burst to become that number one guy. Jared always says this: fast guys run fast, slow guys run slow. I want to see, him Now that we know about this foot injury, I need to see him because that's what makes him go. That foot, that's what makes him go. And if he's having trouble already, I get it. He played. That shows his toughness. But these guys get bigger. And I'm talking about bigger consistently. Every week you're going against a 375-pound tackle. And I know I know Parsons does it, but Parsons is not doing it being injured either. He didn't come in injured. I don't think so either.
So we received a text on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com asking a question that a lot of Titans fans have. What would it take for any of us, if we were in Mike Borgonzi's position, to move off the number 1 pick? And when I thought of the Browns specifically, the Browns are at number 2. The Browns held a private workout with Cam Ward yesterday. Team owner was there, GM was there, head coach was there. If the Browns are serious about Cam Ward, what would it take to move up 1 spot? Now, this is not a perfect comparison, but the most recent moving up 1 spot type of deal that we saw at the top of the NFL draft came when the Bears traded up 1 spot with the 49ers so that the Bears could take Mitch Trubisky in 2017. Now, this was from 3 to 2, not from 2 to 1. So you have to keep that in mind. But by moving up 1 spot, the Bears gave up number 3. They gave up a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and a 3rd. If we're going to assume that moving up from 2 to 1 is going to cost you a little bit more from moving up from 3 to 2, what do you think a realistic deal is? Because I believe it was Paul Gaharski who has said on Robbie and Rex Road in the past that teams that want to move up better be prepared to give up their 1st-round pick next year as well. So what do you think a realistic trade would be?
That's a good question because if it's only 1 spot. D-Mace and I yesterday, when you were out, we were looking at other potential trade partners now that the Giants have done the sort of working outside the box strategy of taking 2 veterans and saying, okay, we'll make it work with one of them. Maybe we'll trade the other one. I don't think that they would trade up to 3 unless maybe they involve one of those guys. I don't know. Maybe that's how they're going to maneuver to make a play for 1. But the Browns specifically, moving up just 1 spot, what's that worth? I really would love to trade out to get another 1st-round pick if I could. What if it was only next year's 1st-round pick?
Nope.
You want a package of other spots? We're
So
only talking
again,
about 1 spot.
let
you
me
still get the 2 overall.
Let me repeat what the trade was in 2017. Bears and 49ers. This was to move up 1 spot from 3 to 2. So again, not 2 to 1.
2017, right?
2017, 3 to 2. The Bears, they gave up number 3. So the Bears and the 49ers switched spots. The Bears gave up a 3rd-round pick that year, a 4th-round pick that year, and a 3rd-round pick next year, the following year in 2018.
They don't have a 3rd.
Yeah, they don't have a 3rd. But I think going from 3 to 2 is different than going from 2 to 1.
Right. So you may have to sweeten it a little bit.
It's going to have to be, and then you
Get
figure
another 2nd in there.
you
Somewhere.
figure, what did but I know it was more than moving up 1 spot. But what did Carolina give up or get from Chicago? However that transaction.
That was a haul.
9.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they moved up. I understand they moved up like 8 spots. I get
They
it.
got a lot. The Bears got
but
a lot.
they got a haul. They end up getting a haul for that, which allowed them to draft Caleb Williams the next following year, right? Yeah, the next following year they were able to draft Caleb Williams.
They had to offload Justin Fields.
Exactly.
And they didn't get a ton for Fields, but it was still, they felt like Williams was that good, and they had the rest of that haul.
Maybe that's what the Titans do, and then offload Will Levis to Pittsburgh if Pittsburgh doesn't get Aaron Rodgers.
Again, quickly, so the Bears-Panthers trade from a couple of years ago. The Bears sent the number 1 overall pick to Carolina for DJ Moore and selections in the 1st and 2nd rounds in 2023, a first-round choice in 2024, which turned out to be the number 1 pick,
Yeah.
and a 2025 second.
That's a haul. That's yeah.
That you would jump at the chance to take that.
Exactly. And I know because of the spots between the two, I understand jumping up that far, you got to be willing to give up a lot. But if you want him that bad, because I like him and I'm gonna draft him, but if you want the pick that bad, then it has to be somewhere in that ballpark. I may not be asked for everything, but I need somewhere in that ballpark.
615-737-1025. What would it take for you if you were in the Titans' shoes to move off of the number 1 pick? 615-737-1025. Coming up next, I did an exercise yesterday trying to get a read on where Cam Ward fits among recent top quarterback picks in the NFL draft. And I thought the results were interesting. 615-737-1025. This week's Nashville's best deal is Boomba's Pizza and Watch Bar. We had a great time out at Boomba's late last week, just in time for the NCAA tournament. Score half off a $30 gift card and enjoy their award-winning pizza and handcrafted beverages. Visit them in East Nashville, Spring Hill, or Murfreesboro. Visit thegamenashville.com/deals now while supplies last. D-Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you live at Bridgestone Arena. Predators versus Blues. 7 o'clock puck drop, 6 o'clock pregame, right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Since Willie wasn't here for the start of the show, Derek, I think
Yes.
Willie should break this tie. I said today is opening day in Major League Baseball. Derek said, well, technically it's not because of those games that happened in Japan. So, Willie, your beloved Mets kick off the season today in Houston, if I'm not mistaken. Is today opening day?
I'm really glad you brought this up because I have a beef. And it's really not what you guys are getting at. You guys are both right. You know, I know this is what they've done a few times over the years. They have those games in Japan. They start at 3 a.m. or whatever they are. So you are right, Derek. It is technically not opening day. But
Yes.
this is the recognized opening day. But my point, my beef is, why are there no games starting right now? Why are we waiting until 2 o'clock?
That's a good point.
Let's get it cranking. The Reds should be playing in Cincinnati right now. The Reds are the oldest team. Traditionally, they used to always have opening day. The very least you could say is have them be at home on opening day and start at noon. Let's go. What are we waiting on? They're not starting any games until 2 o'clock today. Why?
What's that, Eastern time?
2 o'clock Central.
Central, okay.
Makes no sense. It's just a lot of cold weather. So that's another reason in the northern areas to get it going early when it's, in theory, going to be the warmest.
Yeah.
That's really disappointing to me.
But today is opening
Play
day.
ball.
No, it's not.
But today is opening
No,
day.
it's not.
This is the lemon lime thing. Like I would lean towards Adam. This is like, if you say happy opening day today, then I think everybody's like, good, yeah, happy opening day.
So why are the Cubs and the Dodgers playing? It counts in their record, don't it?
It does count in the record.
Absolutely. So if it comes down to that
Right.
one game at the end of the season,
Right.
they're gonna be glad that they won that game.
It's tradition.
It's a technicality that you are correct on, but I still
Who
would say this is
who
opening
created
day.
the technicality?
The Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing what Major League Baseball.
Speaking of opening day,
Uh,
the Nashville Sounds, they open tomorrow at First Horizon Park. We will
Okay.
be out there
yes.
tomorrow. Looking forward to being out at the ballpark when the Nashville Sounds open their season against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp.
That's right.
Woo-hoo. Let's go, John. Sounds. I was about to say.
Let's go, Jumbo Shrimp.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the word
Yeah.
jumbo shrimp.
You gotta love minor league sports team names. They're the best.
The Jumbo Shrimp is
The
a little
Jumbo
bit.
What is
shrimp.
the one
It's a
that's
little
in
bit much.
that's in right outside of it's in Alabama, right outside
The Montgomery
of,
Biscuits.
the one y'all
The
used
Trash
to go
Pandas?
to. Yeah, the trash pandas.
The Trash Pandas.
The trash
That's
pandas.
a good one too. My personal favorite. There used to be an AHL team based in, I think, Lexington. The Kentucky Thoroughblades.
That's
That
right.
was one of my favorites growing up. The Kentucky Thoroughblades. But
I have played in games at Rupp Arena, and
Uh-huh.
at the end of the bench, they had that ice under the floor, man. It was cold. My feet were freezing at the end of the game. And then, hey, Willie, you're in. Like, my feet feel like cement bricks going in there. No blood flow at all.
Oh,
so
man.
we will be out
Yeah.
tomorrow at First Horizon Park.
And tying the two together.
Yes.
What a great sports day
Mhm.
we're going to have with opening day.
We
We got the hockey tonight, and we got the Sweet 16. The Sweet 16 is going to be fabulous tonight. This is the
It's
night.
gonna be wonderful.
Watching games. Let's go.
a lot.
That's more reason why they should start the baseball games at noon. Get as many of them out of there and done by the time the hoops start. We talked about it yesterday on the show. This is the highest audience for an NCAA tournament since 1993 in the first two rounds. So it's only going to get bigger now because you've got the mega
The cream of the crop
stars
starting.
still alive.
Yeah.
It's going to be very compelling from here on. There are going to be some battles.
So yesterday, I decided to do a little bit of research about Cam Ward because I wanted to get a sense of where he ranks among other top quarterback prospects in recent history. So if you go to NFL.com and you go to Cam Ward's prospect page, on the right side of the screen, there's a number, 6.39. And I don't know exactly, Derek, maybe you can explain it to me. I believe this grading system is similar to the grading systems that NFL front offices use, but he had a prospect grade of 6.39, which according to the NFL scale means he will eventually be plus starter, whatever that means. But this is the scale that the NFL uses to grade prospects. 8.0, the perfect prospect. 7.3 to 7.5, perennial all-pro. 7.0 or 7.1, Pro Bowl talent. 6.7 to 6.9, year one starter. 6.5 to 6.6, boom or bust potential. 6.4 through 6.49 will become good starter within 2 years. 6.3 through 6.39 will eventually be plus starter. 6.2 through 6.29 will eventually be average starter. So this is how the NFL grades prospects. So what I decided to do was the NFL's database goes through 2014 because it started using a different grading system in 2014. So I went through 2014 and looked at all of the quarterbacks who were drafted with a top 3 pick since 2014. And I wrote them down in order from highest prospect grade on NFL.com to lowest prospect grade on NFL.com. Including Cam Ward, there were 19 quarterbacks on this list. Cam Ward's prospect grade, according to NFL.com, would rank 19th out of 19. But what I thought was interesting was just looking back at how these quarterbacks were graded coming out. So let's do an experiment here.
Okay.
Again, 19 quarterbacks, including Cam Ward, drafted
since 2014.
Drafted with the first, second, or third overall pick. Which quarterback do you think had the highest prospect rank?
Oh man,
Since 2014.
I will say, I'll just jump out there with the somewhat most obvious. I'd say, well, maybe it's not the most obvious, but I'll say Trevor Lawrence.
I was leaning more so toward Trevor Lawrence, but who else got drafted within those first 3 picks? Was it Carson Wentz up there?
Carson Wentz was on the list. He was not up there. Willie is correct. It is Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence received a 7.4 grade.
7.4. So let's see if we can get the top 3 or 4.
Okay. So Trevor Lawrence, number one, there at 7.4. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks who received a 7.0 or higher.
And did you reveal what Ward's was? 6.8, did you say?
6.39.
6.39.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence was 7.4.
So this is a central point that I've been throwing out there, that he's clearly a first-round pick, and this year he's the best quarterback, but is he worthy of the number 1 pick?
Correct.
All right, you ready for the next pick? I'm going to fire him out there who I think the next 2 are.
Jameis Winston.
You said Jameis Winston?
Yes.
Derek, Willie, you say?
I will say Caleb Williams is in there.
Caleb Williams is not in there. Jameis Winston is. Jameis Winston received a 7.0.
Sure, he was considered a can't miss.
Williams received a 6.74.
Wow.
Let me see.
Because I thought Williams had all of the boxes lit up and everybody was in love.
So
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield was not up there. He received a 6.7.
Now let's go Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow was a 7.07.
Okay.
So he was
obvious,
third on the list.
How about
So try to take a guess at who was second between Lawrence and Burrow.
Lawrence and Burrow second? I want to say, what you call it? in the same draft, wasn't he? Was it Jared Goff or Blake Bortles?
Goff also received a 7.0, but it was not Goff. Sam Darnold received a
Darnold, okay.
7.1.
Wow.
What did Blake Bortles receive?
Blake Bortles received a 6.8.
Okay.
So this was the full. So maybe, Derek, you can help explain this grading system because the NFL does not explain it. As I understand it, it's similar to what front offices use and GMs use to grade prospects. So Trevor Lawrence, top 3 quarterbacks since top 3 drafted quarterbacks since 2014. So including Cam Ward, there are 19. Trevor Lawrence was first at 7.4. Sam Darnold, 7.1. Joe Burrow, 7.07. Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, and Mitch Trubisky, 7.0.
So I guess what I'm hearing is this. It's a dice game. You're rolling the dice because yes, Joe Burrow hit, but Trevor Lawrence hadn't.
Right, and that's sort of the point.
So, but
to get to.
excuse me, but if
Sam
you're in that,
Darnold.
Sam Darnold sort of kind of hit
You
later,
have the
but
whole spectrum.
exactly.
It's the whole
So as long as you're in that top, you have an opportunity. You got a chance. You got a chance.
Let me run down quickly the list in order. Trevor Lawrence, 7.4. Sam Darnold, 7.1. Joe Burrow, 7.07. Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, Mitch Trubisky, all 7.0.
Mitch Trubisky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, 6.82. Marcus Mariota, Kyler Murray, and Blake Bortles, 6.8. Caleb Williams, 6.74. Jaden Daniels, 6.73. CJ Stroud, Carson Wentz, and Baker Mayfield, 6.7. Zach Wilson and Drake May, 6.5. Trey Lance, 6.47. Cam Ward would be 6.39.
And I do think we would have a lot of dispute on how accurate those numbers are based on consensus of others.
But just look at their production. It's on average, if you are, it's like on average, what you're going to get is a 6.39. On average, that's what you're going to get. No, seriously. Yeah. On average, you're going to get, because you're going to get some that fall way below that. I'm just talking about as their career, as they got into the NFL and what they ultimately did.
You have to get a little bit lucky.
Exactly.
As much like I have arguments with this a lot with people. And it could be talking about the NHL draft, which I think is even more of a crapshoot because the kids you're drafting are younger. They're 18 years old. They're not anywhere close to a finished product. It's the opening paragraph of a novel.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the pages are blank. We don't know. At least you got a few chapters in the NFL where the guy's 21 or 22, sometimes older than that these days. But you can be the best evaluator and do all of the things right with how you prepared, and you might love the guy, and you still could get it wrong.
To your point.
You still need a little bit of luck, and people argue with me on that. Like, you got to get the first pick right. You got to have a franchise player. And number 7, he needs to be a franchise player. Number 11, he's 11th. He's got to be a Pro Bowler the first year. But you know what I mean? That's the higher you are, the higher expectations are.
Exactly.
But when you turn the pages and you look at year by year, pick a number between 1 and 11, whatever it is, look at year by, you will see the same kind of variation between the performances of those guys. So you would love to get a Pro Bowler with the 7th pick or the 5th pick. You wish Corey Davis was all that. You can pick and pick apart all the systems. They shouldn't have done this or that. You need a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of luck.
To Willie's point, Trevor Lawrence, who again, I ranked using the NFL's prospect grading system. I went back to 2014 and looked at all quarterbacks who were drafted with a top 3 pick since 2014. So including Cam Ward, there were 19. Trevor Lawrence was number 1 on the list at 7.4. According to the NFL's grading scale, 7.4 means a perennial All-Pro. How many All-Pro seasons has Trevor Lawrence had?
None.
Now, environment is a big part of it.
Yeah, I get it.
Environment is a big part of it. But it is interesting to look at injuries. It is interesting to look back, however, and see where these quarterbacks rank coming out of college into the draft and what they have ultimately become. Also, for context, again, Cam Ward, 6.39. Will Levis, 6.34. Shador Sanders 6.3. So that I just wanted to throw that in there for context. But Cam Ward, according to the NFL's prospect grading scale, would be the lowest rated quarterback taken with a top 3 pick since at least 2014, which is, I think, the reason why Titans fans are a bit
Still a little bit wary.
a bit wary of this. And the question, of course, remains: are the Titans a good place for a player to succeed? Do they have the infrastructure for Cam Ward to succeed?
There's all of that, and there aren't 4 or 5 guys who have that franchise player tag who play other positions, because we've just talked about, well,
Abdul
Carter, he's got these injuries, and Travis Hunter. Well, is he a corner? Would he be the best corner, or is he only up there because he might play the other side of the ball? And look at how tough that is. You know, it would help if there were these other surefire guys that are up there. So it's a tricky year to have the first pick. Again, not really lucky. Lucky.
If you just want to include quarterbacks taken number 1 overall in that list, Trevor Lawrence 7.4, Joe Burrow 7.07, Jameis Winston and Jared Goff 7.0 each, Bryce Young 6.82, Kyler Murray 6.8, Caleb Williams 6.74, Baker Mayfield 6.7, Cam Ward 6.39.
I find it interesting that
Have
Kyler
any of those
Murray had higher than Caleb Williams, because Kyler Murray had all of the talk about, well, nobody's ever done it at that level, at that height. And he's been good, right? Kyler Murray has been
good. He's been good.
He's got his flaws, right? And they haven't won, but he's a good pick. But that's the thing that you get into. He's on the spectrum somewhere. I would have thought, though, that Williams' tools would grade higher than Murray's.
I'm going to tell you, I think this is what it is. And it doesn't have much to do. I don't think it has as much to do with Cam Ward than what we are sort of making it out to be. I think the problem is this, and we've heard it, and fans are saying it loud and clear. They don't trust the Titans. They don't trust the Titans, even if they draft Cam Ward. And they may think Cam Ward is worthy of the number 1 pick. And they may like Cam Ward. And they may have watched Cam Ward the whole season. And they fell in love with him even more now that these workouts and everything else. They're like, yes, he's great. He would be great. But I don't trust you to develop him.
And that's a good
That's
point
probably what it is. I think it's more of that than what Cam Ward hasn't shown.
Well, we will. That's a good point. I want to continue this conversation. We'll take your reaction, your phone calls, your texts coming up next. 615-737-1025 on Cam Ward's prospect grade, how it relates to other top quarterbacks taken over the past decade. 615-737-1025. 1025 The Game and Bavarian Beer House have teamed up to give away tickets to see Billy Idol and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts at Bridgestone Arena in the all-inclusive Eurostone Club on Saturday, May 17th. Tune in to Chase and Big Joe tomorrow during the 9 o'clock hour for the keyword to text for your chance to win tickets. Bavarian Beer House, located at Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy traditional German beer, brats, giant pretzels, and more in their expansive beer hall and garden.
Okay, time to talk Loan Pronto. If you own a home, you can get money out of your home's equity in less than a week with Loan Pronto. So if you have been looking for the solution to fund a home remodel project or pay off a car loan or a credit card or a personal loan, anything you need cash for, that's a source. And Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access that cash from your home. No paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. They have great customer service. The average homeowner has thousands and thousands of dollars in home equity, and that's money you can use. So one client, for example, got $200,000 out, did $100,000, reinvested in their home, made it more valuable, plus paid off a car loan and a personal loan. And in the process, they even cut their monthly expenses because of the interest difference by $1,500. So Get approved in as little as 1 day with no hard credit pull. Let them help you through that process. Go to loanpronto.com or call 615-499-5780. That's loanpronto.com or 615-499-5780. Get the money you need. Loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace Vingen and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you. We are indeed presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. One programming note for all of you. Elliot Friedman, who normally joins us Thursdays at 1, will join us tomorrow in the noon hour. So Elliot Friedman will join us tomorrow around noon instead of today at 1 o'clock. But we are talking about Cam Ward's draft grade or prospect grade, according to NFL.com. He ranks at a 6.39, which on the NFL scale means will eventually be plus starter. Cam Ward, according to my research, would be the lowest ranked quarterback drafted with a top 3 pick since at least 2014. At 6.39. Trevor Lawrence on the opposite end of that list at 7.4. 7.4 in the grading system at NFL.com means perennial all-pro. So I don't think we've seen that yet from Trevor Lawrence.
No.
But one texter, Philip on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, how is a 6.39 a first overall pick, but a 6.34 Will Levis and the 6.3 Shedeur Sanders considered second round talent, even though Sanders will likely be drafted somewhere in the first round as well.
The mystery of Shedeur
Mhm.
Sanders right now is compelling.
Yes.
I think, especially with the narrative. Like,
Uh-huh.
forget about what you think of him, what I think of him, but just in the way it's been presented
Mhm.
to the media, it's like he's the forgotten man. At least for right now. I don't rule out another surge late, right before the draft. Who's Sanders? He really looked good in these workouts and here or there, and man, he's moving up the charts. They love him. I think there'll be some of that before. Like, there's always some, even if it's just smoke signals, different things that get thrown out there in the weeks leading up to the draft. It never fails.
Listen, these quarterbacks are going to move around. I'm talking about the ones outside of Cam Ward. I think these quarterbacks are going to move around, because at the beginning it was Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. Then it was Shedeur Sanders. It was Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Jackson Dart. Then it was Cam Ward, and then you sort of waited a while. Then it was Shedeur. Then it was everybody else. Then it became Jackson Dart. Shedeur's falling. So I suspect as we get closer to the draft, it will sort of go the other way. And maybe we didn't think Bo Nix would get, or Michael Penix would get drafted as high as they did. They end up getting drafted top 10, both of them. And I think both of them respectively had a good season. I know Bo Nix led his team to the playoffs, and Michael Penix didn't come in until late in the season. But I think both of them show good enough play that the future is bright. At least their organizations think so with them underneath center. But I mean, listen, again, everybody wants, and to the texters text, I understand that Will Levis was a 6.3 and Cam is a 6.39. And I understand that may not be, when you're talking about numbers, that may not be too far apart. But ask somebody to run a 4.2 and then that person to run a 4.3. You will see how much distance that truly is when they put them side to side. Because a 4.2 is totally different from a 4.3, and both of them are fast, but one is different than the other. We've seen Will Levis. We know he's not a starting quarterback. We know that. Okay? I think Cam has done enough to show that, listen, if you like him, and I think this is where the Titans are at. If they like him, they're going to draft him. If you offer more, they don't mind coming off that number one pick. But best believe they will. I think if they stay at that number one pick, they're not drafting anybody else outside of Cam Ward. I think it goes back to what I said. They don't trust, to the texter, Will Levis. They didn't develop Will Levis. He was a 6.3. What makes you think they're going to develop Cam Ward? He's a 6.39.
Okay, let's ask about Hunter, too. That
Yes.
to me is another guy that hasn't been discussed a lot
Before we do that, just for kicks and giggles,
because I'm just building off
Yeah.
your, it's either Ward or trade out.
Mhm.
It's not take somebody else. with
Exactly.
number
That's
one.
how I feel.
these are the top graded prospects at any position
Okay.
this season.
Same scale. Okay.
Mhm.
Regardless of position, these are the top ranked prospects by the NFL.com's grading scale. Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State, 7.15.
Hmm.
He has the highest grade. Abdul Carter, 7.0. We'll see what happens with the
Okay.
with the foot in the shoulder. Travis Hunter, 6.89. He's third.
So his stock is dropped. I don't know who this is. What I'm curious about is who puts this together for NFL.com. Are these ex scouts? Are these older scouts? Like,
I was unable.
who's paying them to do this?
Right. I was unable to
Who's doing
find the source of
Yeah.
these grades. Like who is doing them?
But the NFL.
It's for the NFL, but
Mhm.
I don't know like who specifically is doing.
Because the NHL has what they call central scouting, and
yes.
Major League Baseball, I think controversially, stopped doing that for a while. If they stopped altogether, but you always wonder how they view it as opposed to individual teams. But it's a fair question. But that stuns me that Hunter is not really anywhere close to the other guys. For a guy that was rumored to be the G word, right? He had the G word with him.
Yes, Ashton Genty, the running back at the Boise State, has the highest grade at 7.15. Abdul Carter at 7.0. Those are the only two prospects
It's one thing for those guys to be that high,
that ranked at least 7.
ranked that high, but for Hunter to be under 7 surprises me.
And he was supposed to be the what? We can't say it.
Yeah, right.
The G player.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
But they got him ranked lower than those two
Yeah.
guys.
And that's not the rating of a G
Exactly.
player anywhere close to it.
Absolutely.
Kevin,
G player you would think would be more in the 7.5 or
Trevor
at least
Lawrence.
well over 7.
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
one thing I would be curious about doing, maybe I'll do it during the break. So Trevor Lawrence, in my exercise, is the highest ranked quarterback with a 7.4 grade. I'm going to go back and see who the highest ranked prospect of any kind is over the past 10 years. I'll do that during the break. Kevin on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says quarterback is the one position in all of sports that all of the measurables mean very little. Cam's physical gifts are more than enough. Whether he can convert that to being a big-time NFL quarterback is a whole other thing. The only time and opportunity can prove one way or the other.
It's how you see the field. I think that more than anything else, because I heard, one I forgot who it was, analyst or journalist. They said the only thing they could critique about Cam Ward is he was a little doughy. And I'm thinking, like, any quarterback that I've ever ran into, they've been doughy too. It ain't about, we saw Will Levis and how he looked, it didn't work out. It's not about you being cut up and having 8 packs. I mean, it probably looked good, but I mean, that ain't what quarterbacks are about. Quarterbacks are about what I know. What is it? From the shoulder up. How am I from the shoulder up? If I show I can make all those throws, because just about every quarterback in the National Football League can make every throw you ask them to make. They can make all the NFL throws. The ones that separate themselves from everybody else is the ones that can make the NFL decisions from the shoulders up consistently and at crunch time.
In Charles Robinson's story at Yahoo Sports, one evaluator said, quote, "He's still got a college physique, and that will get better in the NFL. He's a little doughy,
Yeah.
which you kind of see with college quarterbacks. He'll get stronger in his base and midsection, and arms get stronger that way too. He just needs a good strength and conditioning program."
Yeah. And that's how I look at.
You don't want to be doughy.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
I'm doughy. You don't want to be doughy.
Steve McNair, I mean, he was doughy. I mean, he had one big ab. I've seen quarterbacks. Joe Flacco wasn't
Ben
ripped up.
Roethlisberger?
Ben Roethlisberger damn sure wasn't
Did
ripped
you just
up.
say Steve McNair had one big ab?
Yeah, we called it one big ab.
One
Okay.
pack.
Just one pack, yeah, one big
A
ab.
different kind of six-pack.
So, quarterbacks are like, as long as I know what to do from the neck
The
up.
famous Tom Brady picture of him
Exactly.
on,
Yeah.
at the
It
combine.
ain't like Tom ripped now. He's just smaller, but he ain't ripped
Tom
up.
Brady wearing his big ass boxers, the really baggy boxers.
Yeah, so listen, I think it's more of the fan base not trusting the Titans that they can develop a quarterback or develop that number 1 pick. I'm sure there are more fans more willing for them to trade out of it because they don't believe whoever they draft, they would develop them. I think that's where they're at least with the number 1 pick. Now, if it was picked 3, 4, 5, it may be something different. But I just don't think this fan base trusts that the Tennessee Titans can, if they do draft Cam Ward, that they can develop them. And all I say is, well, you need to give them an opportunity. I mean, again, Will Levis wasn't great, but we saw when someone came in that could run the offense efficiently, and I think Brian Callahan, I think he's going to be a damn good coach. I really do, and I think they've surrounded themselves with enough experience at nurturing and developing quarterbacks. I think he's surrounded himself with enough of those people that if they choose to draft Cam Ward, I think they're going to be okay.
I'm looking at prospects at all positions in this database, looking to see who the highest is. So Trevor Lawrence was the highest quarterback at 7.4.
I would say Miles Garrett.
Miles Garrett was a 7.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was Miles Jack. Miles Jack was a 7.5 in
Oh, man.
2016.
He didn't prove to be
But
that.
didn't he hurt his knee?
He can't. He did
He
get
blew out
injured
his
while
knee.
he was. Didn't he get injured while he was in the NFL? I think.
I thought he got injured at
But he
Notre
just
Dame.
never-
Is it Notre Dame?
He
Miles Jack?
just never. That was the.
That's another.
That was the
another
UCLA
question.
guy from this year, wasn't it? Or last year?
That's another question I have about the evaluation. Is
You might be
When
right.
do they turn in
Yes.
the evaluation? Is it while the guy's finishing up his college?
Miles
Play.
Jack did get hurt in college.
So these were the prospects who were higher than 7.4. Saquon Barkley was a 7.45.
And he's been all of it.
Miles Garrett was a 7.5.
He's been all of it.
Miles Jack was a 7.5.
No.
Laramie Tunsil was a 7.5.
He's been okay, but not
And Jadavian Clowney was a 7.5. Chase Young was a
Gosh.
7.
Another guy.
Chase Young was a 7.37.
Those two last guys just never, Jadavian just never reached his full potential. You saw it in spurts. And then Chase Young, he's his third team
He's
in
on
2
his-
years,
he's
something
on
like
his
that.
third team now. Yep.
Yeah, because he got traded in the
He
midst of
went
the
from
season.
the
Yeah.
Commanders to the Niners. Now he's back with the Saints.
Exactly.
He re-signed with the Saints.
Miles Jack, UCLA, he dropped to the second round. So he I believe tore his ACL.
He got hurt during the season. Late. I think it was
they
late
had
in the
to-
season.
So he had a 7.5, but obviously that was before he
Yeah.
tore the ACL.
Right,
Which,
there
which makes
wasn't
me
a-
wonder when the evaluation is turned
There
in.
wasn't a lot of clarity as
Uh-huh.
to. I looked for it.
Right.
It wasn't on the NFL's
So-
website. I looked up other ways I could find it. I could not find any sort of rationale behind.
So this has you wondering,
Had they did an
can your
updated
rating-
version.
Can your rating go differently from the time you end your college season to the time the draft happens with all the workouts, the interviews, and whatnot? Does that 6.38 that Ward has, could that be 6.7 now? Or something
It should
like that?
change. Why? Because positioning changes during this time.
But on
like
the other hand,
player
I could also
positioning.
argue, listen, man, the hay's in the barn.
Uh-huh.
I'm going by what I see on the field. Like I don't know what the criteria is for this scouting stuff.
I
Are they
will see
going
if
with
I
the
can find
combine
it.
stuff? There's people that don't run at the combine. There's people that don't throw at the combine.
Right. I tried my hardest to find the rationale behind the grading
Yeah.
system. I could not. But the NFL had a deep database into all of these grades. I just thought it was an interesting exercise to see where Cam Ward would rate among the other top quarterback prospects of the past decade. 615-737-1025. Derek brought up something a couple of times here about Titans fans' feelings about Cam Ward and whether the Titans could screw him up. And I feel like we've been having conversations on our station to this effect, and I want to join that conversation. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game.
hard to have confidence that they're getting out of this, short of Cam Ward being a great player. Which again, I'm with you. That's the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. But their organization is poorly run.
You're giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Cam Ward could be great. Our organizations screw up great players all the time. This one
Well, I'm saying, like he needs
is
to
a
be great
prime
for
candidate
them.
to
Yeah.
screw them up.
Sure.
Prime candidate. So, I mean, if you're out there thinking Cam Ward's going to fix all of this, I'm sorry. And I know I'm on the pessimistic side of things. I'm not a true believer in Cam Ward, but I think he's got a great chance. He could come in here and they could totally mess him up.
That was Paul Kaharski on with Robbie and Rex Road yesterday morning. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan live from Bridgestone Arena. Predators versus Blues tonight at 7 o'clock. By the way, before we get to our next topic, somebody texted in and wanted to know what Traylon Burks' prospect grade was on NFL.com. Traylon Burks was a 6.5, which equates to boom or bust potential. That sounds accurate, does it not?
Yeah, pretty much so. Pretty much so. With the
But
injuries and everything
6.5,
else.
That's
That's
pretty
still-
good. That's higher
yeah.
than Cam Ward. right?
Yes. Cam Ward was a 6.39.
I don't know. I'm questioning this. whole-
Injuries and all this other stuff. So I don't know. Listen, again.
But this isn't about Traylon.
Yeah, this is about Traylon Burks.
I wanted to entertain that type
Yeah.
of question.
It's not about Traylon Burks. It goes to Adam, what I was just saying, and I know you were alluding to, is that, the question is, do you not trust Cam Ward? Do you not trust Cam Ward, or do you not trust the organization
Right.
to develop? Because all young quarterbacks need developing. Or do you not trust the organization to develop this young quarterback or put the things around him necessary that he will grow as a young quarterback?
So there was a story out of St. Thomas Sports Park earlier this week that the Titans have moved on from Robbie Bourne. Robbie Bourne was the head of football communications for the Tennessee Titans, an original employee
Mhm.
of the Tennessee Titans. Spent
Tennessee Oilers.
Tennessee
Tennessee
Oilers.
Oilers, yes.
Yes, that's how far back Robbie
And he's
went.
been a head man for 25 years. So 25 to 28 years, he's been the guy.
Right. He was an important part of the behind the scenes goings on with the Tennessee Titans. So over the past couple of days, Jared Stillman has talked about this. Paul Kaharski and Joe and Robbie have talked about this as well, as you just heard in that clip, about how the dismissal of Robbie Bourne, who again, to a lot of Titans fans, to quote the late great Floyd Reese, you wouldn't know Robbie Bourne from a jar of Vicks. But Paul and Jared specifically have been discussing how the dismissal of Robbie Bourne speaks to a larger issue within the Titans organization, that the organization is clueless, it's dysfunctional, and that Cam Ward, despite what you may think of Cam Ward, because of the state of the Titans franchise, that Cam Ward could be set up to fail because of the dysfunction of the Titans organization.
Listen, I think, and I think we all do it. Let's just say, for instance, I'm uber partial to UC Soros, not because I know him as a person, but because I just truly believe his story. That I just like. He's one of those guys that I can just vibe with, And when everybody was pointing at, oh no, I'm like, no, I'm biased, yeah. And if you get rid of him, I'm gonna make it known how I am not pleased about it. Why? Because I am partial. Not that I know him, but I like his game that much. So there's sort of this personal attachment to it. So when that subject comes up, you get a little riled up a little bit. That's me with UC Soros. I'm sort of like bringing it home here so people can relate here in Nashville. That's me like with UC Soros. I think Jared and Paul and other people, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. It's a little bit personal to them, and rightfully so. Robbie did a wonderful job. again, I text him and said as much and even more. But Robbie was wonderful for that organization. And I hope they appreciated him, as I told him. I hope they appreciated him just as much or more than what the players and the media around him, how much they appreciated him. So I hope that the organization has appreciated the work he's done and what he's meant. I hope they appreciate it more than we can ever appreciate it. But that doesn't mean because they choose to, and I don't know what happened in the background. I didn't ask. That's not my business. I'm not that type of dude. So however it went down, okay. But that doesn't, and I understand why people feel a certain way. It's a personal attachment. And I get it. Robbie was great. At least he was great to me. That's the only way I can sort of judge him by. How is he with me and then some of the people close to me? But that's not going to then make me believe that this is a bad outfit. I'm not judging them on what the last regime did. We saw what the last two regimes did, and it wasn't good. It set them up for where they're at now. We bitched and moaned, or some of y'all bitched and moaned about Rand Carthon, and now he's gone and y'all still bitching and moaning. And they hired a new GM. Until he does something that is going to affect them on the field, until that regime does something, then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit back and wait and see. If y'all want to draft Cam Ward, draft him. You better develop him. If you don't, you're going to be right back in the same spot. But it's not like they've done something like, outrageous to make me think that Borgonzi doesn't know what he's doing. Brian Callahan doesn't know what he's doing. Now, he's a first-year coach. Majority of the first-year coaches, even Vrabel, he went through his first-year woes and didn't look like the greatest coach. But what happened the next year? He came around. He started coaching better. I believe that's what Brian Callahan is going to be able to do. But to sit here and say, well, this is an incompetent organization, I don't trust them because, and again, I don't know the backstory or why they let him go, because they chose to walk away or chose to part ways with Robbie. I just hope they respected him and did it in a respectful way, and that they appreciated the job that he has been doing for the last 28 years, 25 as the head guy. I hope they appreciate that more than we could ever appreciate it. But that doesn't mean that this outfit is just bad. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. Okay, what if Cam Ward works out? And then all y'all gonna have to change y'all views. And maybe I will too if it does work out, or if it doesn't work out.
I think you're onto something there. I've always looked at it. Look, people who maybe don't understand what Robbie does, when the media goes in there every day,
exactly,
they deal with Robbie every day. So during the course of a season, I mean, you're around him a ton. So you get to know him really well. 28 years. Paul Carsey's been covering the Oilers/Titans for just as long as Robbie's been there. So I don't know if they're close friends, but they have dealt with each other for a long time. So there is an emotion involved, especially when Robbie, he had the highest level of respect, I would say, from the Nashville media, whether it's volatile media people, and you can name whoever you want to name in that category, or the more even-keeled media. It doesn't matter. Robbie dealt with them all and was respected by all. But that's very different than saying that's going to determine how the quarterback is going to sink or swim.
But that's the narrative that's being pushed.
Yes, but I would be in agreement that over the entire course of their history, I don't think the Titans have been one of the model franchises in the NFL in terms of connecting with the community, with fan relations. We've had all kinds.
They can get better, and they can be
gone.
better.
Like, it hasn't been the same level all 30 years, however long they've been here. But there's been a lot of, I think, starting with the ownership, and you had Bud Adams, he was an aging guy, and then all of that stuff. The football side has definitely been separate. It's overcome it, like you mentioned, in the prime of the Vrabel Robinson. That was a pretty well run football department. in the prime of Jeff Fisher and Floyd Reese, they had continuity. That was a pretty well-run football.
We can't use that word,
department.
can we? Continuity. Can we use that word?
That word has not been banned.
Okay, it hasn't
hasn't
been
been
banned. Boom, there we
banned.
go.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yes,
You can,
yes.
so I'm looking at the entire history of the franchise. here.
Collaboration
But right
might
now,
be
when-
retroactively
Yeah.
banned,
but when you're down,
but continuity is not banned.
Okay.
when you've stunk for the last couple of years,
Uh-huh.
people lose faith in,
Yeah.
in the decision making. But I think it's a reach to say, because Robbie's not the only guy that they've let go.
Exactly.
They've let a lot of people go.
Video guys,
A lot of good people,
Anthony,
yeah.
I know,
People
and
in
those
the
guys
department,
did a
yeah.
tremendous job.
Yeah.
Anthony did a tremendous job at cutting the film and putting things together. That's a hard job in itself to do, to make sure the minute we get off the field at 3:40. I'm just giving you a roundabout time. We get off the field at 3:45. We go in, we get changed, we shower. We may run in the training room. We grab some meat. By 4:00, 4:15, that tape that we need, it's there. That's hard work when you got to send everybody the tape of that day's practice, especially during tour days. It gets even worse. So those guys meant so much, and I understand there's a personal attachment. I get that part,
But
But
Mike Barganzi did
Jake Daniels. It was a dump. Now that was a dumpster fire. Then what did they do? They changed ownership. They want to change ownership, but in the process of changing ownership, change GM, change head coaches, bring some new life into the building. I'm sure there are some guys within management that have been there prior to them coming in. So they probably just hung around. They may not be around too much longer, but they were there last year. And even with drafting Ken Williams, that they were predicted to win 6.5 games last year.
6.5, even with all that change, and people deemed, well, good, because they got that riffraff and that trash out that was running, that whole regime. They got them all out. What happened? They end up making it to the NFC Championship game, right? This is a team that was picked to win 6 games, 6.5, even with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
He had already drafted, even with Jaden Daniels. So all I'm saying is this. Y'all asked for the change. Y'all got the change at that key position. Let them, if it shows that they end up not knowing what they're doing and they draft Cam and he isn't developing, then okay. But right now, they are doing essentially what the Commanders did, not to that extreme, but they are doing essentially what the Commanders did as far as front office. They changed some things within the front office that they felt and the fan base felt needed to be changed. Now we need to see how, if they do draft Cam Ward, can he play the way Jaden Daniels played or close to it? And if that is indeed the case, they are predicted to win 5 games. I guarantee you they will win 9.
I was going to use the Buccaneers of the 80s. I always do that. Like, if you look at most organizations, there are some that, avoid getting that tag of, wow, lost confidence. Nobody, you have the reputation, boy, they're just going to bungle everything.
I know about being around an organization that bundled everything.
Yeah.
The Lions for almost 50 years.
That's a great example. The Buccaneers, I grew up when I moved to Florida, they were that team. Like, they were just the laughing stock, and everything they're going to do is going to be wrong. Bo Jackson said, go ahead and draft me first overall. I'm not playing for you. What did they do? They drafted him first overall, and he didn't play for him. He never went down there. He said, I'll go play baseball. They hit the first pick in the draft, and they drafted the guy that never played for them. That's how bad it was. But where are they now? They've won a couple Super Bowls. They got a good thing going down there. You can cycle out of that if you get the right people, right? And who was the guy? Like, they got Tony Dungy down there, and they got some good football people. They drafted. They got a good defense. They built some things, and they grew out of the weight of being that organization that never gets it right.
I received a text on my personal text line, not driven
From
by
Arlo.
Arlo's listening. That's great.
If Arlo has if Arlo, one, can text this legibly, and 2, do it at school, I'll be impressed. No, it's from one that has the same temperament as my 3-year-old son. Sometimes Jared Stillman. Jared Stillman texted me saying the Browns made the playoffs last year. You absolutely are with the Browns, Giants, Jets, Raiders, Jags, and Panthers. The Commanders were there and have graduated because everyone is out.
But you can. My point is, you can go in cycles, right? The Giants, I think, most of their tenure has been a pretty well-respected organization. They took a hit because everything they did was broadcast over the summer, and did it burn them, right? And then they were awful, right? So that kind of has you taking a hit, and it has people question your confidence. But they've been a pretty well-run organization, probably more so than the Jets, right, reputation-wise, but they still are kind of in the doghouse right now with their fans.
It's recency bias again.
It is recency bias.
It's okay.
The Browns are in a relatively successful era. If you look at the last 5 or 6 years, they got some playoff wins in there. As Jared said, they made the playoffs.
Yeah, but you look at the Browns. Okay,
Flacco saved their season,
Yeah,
right?
Flacco said that,
Stuff,
and
yeah.
but everybody ties it all to the Deshaun Watson trade.
Right.
That's where the Browns. Everybody feel the Browns just completely like they are a dumpster fire. That whole and hey, listen, it hadn't worked for them, and now they got to sit in it, And luckily they got a playoff, visit in the midst of all of this, or a playoff berth in the midst of all of this 2 years ago. But let's not just sit here. That's why it says all recency bias. Let's just not sit here and act as if 3-4 years ago we wasn't saying this organization is getting it. They got it. They are one of the best franchises around. When they were winning, when Vrabel and Robinson were the best thing since peanut butter and jelly. When they were the best thing since Cadillac and white wall tires. Come on, that was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. Now all of a sudden they are, and I get it. Some of the moves that they have made were personnel, draft picks, and the likes. I get it, but y'all wanted change, and they gave it to y'all. Now we got to see if this new group of guys together and girls together, if there are some in there somewhere that are helping make decisions, the group of individuals, let's just say that. If the group of individuals that y'all have put together, if they show they can get the job done once the season starts, then okay, I'm good. But at least give them the opportunity to show it, and don't point to me, about the dysfunction, because again, I thought Robbie was great at his job. I believed he was great, and I'm not the only person that's in that boat. But that doesn't mean to me, again, because I don't know all the inner workings of it and why it happened and how they did it. But that doesn't mean to me that they are a horrible, just like a dysfunctional, not horrible, but a dysfunctional front office.
Look, I do think they're a dysfunctional front office in a lot of ways, but that doesn't mean that the good football people can't overcome that if they draft well and they coach well and they get good players.
And how will you know that? Once the guys start playing.
You got to get a little lucky. But and look, I'm not discounting, but they are dysfunctional. There's no way.
There's been some.
There's a reason why everybody is doing this and making it about, because they see it every day.
But I'm talking about from the
years and years.
I'm talking about from the football side with this new group. Like,
right, is Mike Borgonzi going to be able to captain the ship?
Exactly.
We'll see. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But this. It all starts. He gets to step in there and have the first pick, like John Robinson. John Robinson wielded that into some success. He overcame all of the dysfunction that was going on then. Bud Adams passed away. Bud Adams in his last few years was getting up there. He wasn't always there. He was getting just like old people do who age, not day to day as super sharp as he could be. Even 10, 15 years before, he wasn't the sharpest guy. He was always detached from Nashville. They had to overcome all of that. That was crazy. That wasn't ideal. But Jeff Fisher and Floyd Reese made it work. They figured out how to be successful in spite of that. And then he was gone, and they had this nebulous leadership group for a while in the family who's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Well, the NFL said you can't do that. Somebody's got to take it. So Tommy Smith, she took over, but John Robinson came in. Despite all of that, he had the first pick. He started building a pretty good roster, and they won some games. So they could be separated. But but make no mistake about it, the organization is dysfunctional.
Yes, some of the things that they've done from the top and how they fired, and I'm just talking about football people. I'm putting
the football ops is separate than everything else.
That's what I'm saying. The football ops, the way that they've sort of done things. Okay, listen, and I think now the saying is, what is it? Hope for the best and prepare for the worst, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's flipped now. And maybe because of what the Titans have done, people are preparing for the worst, and they're just like, "Man, I hope they do well. I mean, I don't know, but I'm preparing for them not to do well." Where it shouldn't be that way. But again, because of moves that this regime, and I'm only talking this regime, because of the moves that they made in the hierarchy, things that are not football, like on the field related stuff. like in regards to diagramming plays and setting up offenses and defenses and game planning. Because of the things that they've done outside of that, the firing of Robbie, however it was done, I don't know how it was done. The firing
Well,
of
you can
other
go
people.
into the PSLs
I'm just saying this.
and
I'm saying
everything
this
that-
year. I'm just
the
saying.
prices they're asking.
Yeah,
for.
I'm just
There's
saying.
a lot of things that you could nitpick
I'm
on.
just saying, like this for this regime now that's together. But outside of that, like the football stuff on the field, like they went out and they addressed, they did all the things. Again, and maybe I'm just looking at it from a too much of a neutral standpoint. I get it. But I don't see what they have done from a player standpoint that has been that egregious. I'm talking about the people that are here now. That egregious that y'all don't think that they can get the job done.
615-737-1025. Well, we will continue to take your thoughts on that on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let me remind all of you that D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick is proudly presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll switch gears here for a moment. The NCAA tournament resumes tonight. 3 SEC teams are in action tonight. We will discuss that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063, The Game. D. Mace Vingen and Donick, 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you live at Bridgestone Arena. Predators and Blues tonight at 7 o'clock. Also tonight, the NCAA tournament resumes with 4 games. 2 in Newark, New Jersey, and 2 in San Francisco, California. Actually, before we get to that, it is opening day.
Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
So let me introduce you to a concession that the minor league Trenton Thunder,
Trenton
New
Thunder.
Jersey. Speaking of Newark, New Jersey, not too far in Trenton, New Jersey.
Trenton a little closer to Philadelphia,
Yes,
down in southern New Jersey.
the Trenton Thunder are offering a concession known as the Swine Brew.
The
Ooh.
Swine Brew.
Combine your 2 favorite concessions to combine your 2 favorites in one concession item this year with a 10-ounce beer with chunks of pork. Here's an update.
What?
Here's an update. To ensure the quality of the pork and that it's served at the appropriate temperature, the beer will be served hot. See you at the ballpark.
I'm not a beer guy.
So what would it take you,
A
Derek
swine brew.
Mason, to drink a hot beer with pork chunks in it?
I'm not a beer guy, but I'm darn sure not a hot beer guy.
With
So,
pork though? With
I
a
don't.
hot
I'm
beer
not
guy
eating
with
no
pork.
pork. I'm not eating this. I'm not eating the swine, brother.
That's true. You
I'm
don't
not
need-
eating the swine.
I'm not sure
But
that's gonna
big
hit.
chunks
I'm not
of
sure that's gonna
pork.
hit.
That's
Big
enough
ch-
for me, dog.
Big chunks of pork.
a big. Do you
I
want
mean,
to?
it's the argument that if
And
you're
a hot
having-
beer.
Okay, but it's the
Wow.
argument if you're having a beer and a hot dog that eventually those 2 things that are in the swine beer to start will eventually be in your mouth at the same time. So they're just putting it out there before.
No. I
Like-
would rather
Like a beer and a hot dog at a game, that's reasonable. I just like to have them separate.
some things are meant
So why
to be
why combine
together.
it?
I get that.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
things are meant to be together and served together, but some things are meant to be so separately. And if I want to put them together, I can. If I want to eat my little pork rind and then drink my beer, a cold beer, I can do that. That's a good mixture because it's warm in my mouth eventually. But I'm not taking a warm beer, pour it in a bucket, and then throw some pork in there and then eat. Willie, that
If somebody from the Nashville Sounds is listening, we will be out there tomorrow
Yeah.
for Sounds opening day. If you can replicate this, bring
Please
it to
don't.
our booth tomorrow.
Will
No.
you try it?
A hot beer with pork
Would
chunks
you-
in it.
Would you try it?
I'll take a sip.
Oh,
You gotta have the whole
sip.
thing. You
I'll
have the
take
whole
a
thing.
sip.
A
I'm-
sip?
You
no.
have to have the whole thing.
I'm
Listen,
committed
if
to
they-
a sip.
if
But-
they
but
prepare it,
does the
you
sip
need to eat
include
it all and
a
drink
piece
it
of
all.
the pork
The pork has to be involved
in the sip.
In the sip.
In the sip. Okay.
Yes.
If you enjoy it, do you reserve the right to take the rest of it?
No, I should know if they're Willie, if they're gonna go out of their way.
Hot
And
beer.
If
put-
they make it,
Exactly. You gotta
you have to have the whole
exactly.
thing.
You have to at least eat and drink half of it.
Okay, I rescind my statement.
I thought so.
All right, moving on. Moving on to the NCAA tournament. 3 SEC teams are in action tonight, starting with Alabama in San Francisco against BYU. The over-under in terms of total points for this game, the highest by far of the third round, 175.5.
God,
This
wait.
is expected to be an offensive showcase
Ooh.
between BYU and Alabama. Florida, right after that game, also in San Francisco, will take on the Crab Five of Maryland, which survived in a buzzer beater where there might have been a traveling call
Yeah, they traveled.
against
That
Colorado
was
State.
a travel. They didn't call the travel.
They don't call it travel.
So
Y'all know
Florida-
that.
Vanderbilt fans can relate to
You
Jeff,
know they don't
Jeff
call it
Green
travel.
back in 2008,
Come on,
Georgetown.
man.
He traveled.
Florida, a 6.5-point favorite after surviving UConn in the second round against Maryland. And then speaking of hot pork, the Arkansas Razorbacks. They play the Texas Tech Red Raiders at 9:09 p.m. in San Francisco. So first game out west, Maryland and Florida, Arkansas and Texas Tech.
Is that like an old Southwest Conference? Didn't Texas Tech and Arkansas used to be in the old Southwest Conference? I think that was the case.
Hmm.
I do not know the answer to that.
But that that's going to be a battle. Texas Tech is tough as nails. They're really good. Arkansas is got that thing going right now, though. You could
They're
tell
feeling
at the end that
themselves
they are
right now.
feeling themselves. I don't count them out at all. The one I'm really intrigued is Alabama BYU. That is going to be fun. So BYU routinely here's down the stretch their games, and they were hot down the stretch. They lost to Houston in the Big 12 conference tournament, and they hit a wall in that game. They were held to 54 in that game. But down the stretch, 91, 96, 91, 77, 88, 85, 96. Then they had the game against Houston. Then 80 in the first round against VCU and 91 against Wisconsin. So Ken Palm projects 89-84 Alabama on the the concoction that he has with all of his numbers put in there. So that could be a lot of fun to watch. Alabama, as we know, if you watch them, they're routinely they could hit 100 every night. Any night, not every night, but any particular night, they could go for 100.
Willie, I am not surprised you did not
shock
say.
me. It would not shock me if both of these teams scored at least 90 points tonight. It would not shock me in the slightest.
Willie, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised in you, but I'm surprised you didn't. I don't think you said it. I'm surprised that y'all are not zeroing in on Maryland and Florida for this reason. Florida played a hell of a game last game.
Yeah.
They put a lot. I mean, and I know they've had their days off, but that was a battle between UConn. A battle. Can they, even though that there has been, I know there's been days in between, because Maryland's a good team. And I know the whole traveling, and I get all of that. But Maryland's a good team. They got three guys that can flat out play, two guards in the center. They can flat out play. But did that take a lot out of Florida, that UConn game? Can Florida, because they're going to have to ramp it back up again. And I get it. There has been days between that, so they've been able to rest. But can they come out and play that type of game that they need to play in order to beat Maryland? Because Maryland's going to be another physical team that they're going to have to play against.
Maryland, if you put stock in the Ken Palm, Maryland is seeded fourth, is a fourth seed, but they have a much higher rating in the Ken Palm. They're the 10th highest, most efficient team in the Ken Palm. And so that's intriguing because that would have them more as a 3 seed than a 4 seed. So this is a tough matchup for Florida because I'm with you. Maryland is tough as nails. I still like Florida in the game. I'm going to go the other way. I think that Connecticut pushing them will bring out better basketball from Florida, I think. But look, am I saying that because I picked Florida to win in my bracket? Maybe I'm trying to just make the argument. But I've been impressed with Florida all year long. Their win over Auburn, they kind of won me over on that game. They won at Auburn by 9. Like they just flat out whipped Auburn at Auburn. I've watched them play other teams where like they're playing good teams and they're just way better in the SEC. They stood out in that league despite all the other good teams in that league. So I'm just going to keep rolling with Florida until somebody stops them. But could Maryland do it? That's the beauty of this tournament. Yes, they could do it.
And I'm not saying that I would, bet against, depending on what the spread is, I might take Maryland in the points.
6.5.
I may take Maryland in the points. Yeah, that sounds good. But if you're talking about straight up, I still believe Florida wins, but I think they're going to have to play another tough physical game.
Well, what's one
like
thing
they did against UConn?
What's one thing we know about Maryland? They tend to play games that come down to the final possession.
Man, have they
ever? A lot of their recent losses, I believe their past 4.
Michigan State,
losses,
Michigan.
Northwestern, the game against Northwestern.
Yeah.
They lost on the final possession. And it looked like it was going that way against Colorado State. Colorado State hit a 3 with 4 seconds left. Fortunately for Maryland, Derek Queen bailed him out with a buzzer beater of his own.
Where he took 4 steps.
They don't call it traveling.
Maryland,
conservatively, he took 3 steps.
Yes.
Maryland gets into these tight games that come down to the final possession. So it would not shock me
Flair for the dramatic.
if Maryland and Florida also came down to the final possession. Arkansas, by the way, the lowest ranked seed remaining in the tournament, the only double-digit seed left. But as you said, Willie, Arkansas playing well, an intriguing matchup against Texas Tech. Texas Tech favored by 5.5.
Can Arkansas shoot well enough from the outside to win this game? Now, listen, they stepped up and they played well. And I'm not sure, how many people were. What was the line? Well, St. John's was favored in that game.
I believe it was 6.5.
So basically, Vegas didn't think.
And they did benefit. St. John's,
Yeah.
this is their one Achilles heel.
Can't shoot.
Can't shoot.
Can't shoot from
And-
the
and
outside.
and they really couldn't shoot. in that
Exactly.
game. And part of it is Arkansas's defense, but it was also they just are not good shooters.
Yeah. So Arkansas, this is another team where, because of their defense, and if they can continue to hit shots, they can make it very interesting. Moving forward, I think Coach Cal has gotten his team playing good basketball at the right time, and we'll see what happens. But I am truly Alabama game, BYU game. I think Alabama wins it. I think it'll be tough to start, but I think eventually, Alabama wins that game. Arizona Duke game is going to be interesting too, but I do believe Duke's going to win that game. It's just the Maryland and Florida game. That's the game that I look at and I'm like, man, if there's going to be an upset, it may be with the 4 and the 1.
I do want to bring this up before we go to break. A man who goes by the name of $1,000 Bill. That's
$1,000 bill.
$1,000 bill.
Is there such a thing? Can you get a $1,000 bill? I think so, right?
He created a parlay where he bet on Tennessee to win the College World Series, which it did.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers to win the World Series, which they did.
Oh, so this is already in the bank.
Yes.
He's already got this. Okay.
Ohio State to win the national championship in
Man.
football,
3 for 3.
which it did. The Eagles to win the Super Bowl,
Whoa.
4
which
for
they
4.
did. And most critically at this point, he picked Duke to win the national championship.
And he's got proof. He's got the ticket.
The odds on this parlay came out to plus 3,365,900.
Okay.
He bet $5. He could win $168,300 if successful.
Wow.
Here's the irony of it all. He's a diehard Florida Gators fan.
And they could meet in the final.
Uh-huh.
They're on the opposite sides of the bracket, so they could meet in the final.
So do you
That's the final.
He
I have.
says,
do
he
you
says-
even in your heart wish that they win?
He
Probably
says
not.
that if he holds on to the ticket and if Duke and Florida were to meet in the national championship, he plans to hedge
He could
with a
hedge.
massive wager on the Gators. However, the cash out for the wager, valued at nearly $50,000 headed into the Sweet 16, looms large.
Well, now everybody knows who Dollar Bill is. It's $1,000 bill.
Well, he loses. He wins on both fronts, because if Duke wins, then he
Right.
wins. If who did he pick to win the whole? Oh, Duke.
He
If
picked
Duke
Duke to
wins,
win, but he's
he
a
wins his
diehard
parlay.
Gators
Yeah,
fan.
he wins his parlay. So he comes out
Gets
at
paid
least
for his kid's
you know,
college.
hey, there you go.
615-737-1025.
Community college.
Colleges get pretty expensive. these days.
Exactly.
By the way,
There's nothing wrong with community college at all, but I'm just saying.
Price is right.
Yeah, exactly.
that tournament update was presented by Toyota. Fuel your adrenaline at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Also brought to you by thenewcumberland.com, Twin Peaks, and Bet365. We'll wrap up the show next. An old friend of ours here in Tennessee is in the news. We'll discuss that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063, The Game.
All right, let's talk. Lee Company, proud sponsor of our Nashville Predators coverage. Nashville is back in action tonight against the St. Louis Blues, who to say are on a roll is an understatement. They are 14-2-2 in their last 18, including the last 7. And they have outscored their opponents 34-10 in their 7. We'll have the coverage beginning. Nashville trying to knock them off for the first time this year tonight. Our coverage starts at 6, brought to you by Lee Company. Max Hers will be taking over the duties right at 6 o'clock. And so, hope you're coming out to Smashville tonight. Meanwhile, Lee Company not only supports the Predators, they support all of you who have issues in your home over time. That's what they deal with. They want a relationship with you. They've got the home maintenance plan where they have the annual checkups. But anytime you're in a pinch, they're just a phone call away. 615-567-1000. 615-567-1000. Online appointment or call in general maintenance at home or at work, or just to get that air conditioning unit checked before the hot summer months are coming. All kinds of things they can help you with. Lee Company, 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com.
D. Mace Vingan and Donick 1025, 1063. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Jared Stoneman and Company coming up next, right here on 1025, 1063. The game. One thing I didn't touch on today.
Yes.
The Titans announced that they are going to their light blue jerseys as their primary home jerseys starting next season.
That's off. I like the darker blue.
Those will now become alternate jerseys.
Hmm.
The team will also not be wearing their throwback Oilers uniforms this season.
I think that probably will be something that does go over well. That
The,
part
the
of it.
Oilers part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Why?
okay with
I
that.
think the fans love it. Now they've lost in those uniforms more times than not, at least recently. But I think the fan base likes when they wear those Oiler uniforms. I mean, I like it because they've redid the sort of how it fits and everything else. But I like it.
I'm not for that.
Uh-huh.
Maybe if the whole league is doing a throwback or
Mhm.
you want to do that every couple of years, but I don't think you need to do that every year.
Yeah.
I
But wasn't their home? Hold on, I'm trying to think. Was their home jerseys? We used to wear white at home sometimes. It was never white.
you guys
We were
guys
white
like to-
pants. That's what it was. We always wore white
when
pants.
you were the Tennessee Oilers,
Uh,
you guys almost always wore the white at home.
yeah,
All white at
the
home.
white pants. I don't
White
know.
pants, white jersey.
When we were the Oilers, yes,
Tennessee Oilers.
because we never wore the blue.
You guys
We
didn't like the
ever
blue?
wore the blue.
Yeah.
I don't think, but really, so we away or home, we were wearing white.
Yeah, I don't really know why the blue fell out of favor. It was kind of not in style.
Yeah.
You guys didn't like it.
Maybe the
didn't
NFL
mind
said
it.
something about it, but I mean,
But I'm okay with the light blue. It's not bad. But-
eh, I like the dark blue. Either or, it don't matter.
Before we get out of here,
Mhm.
Jeremy Pruitt, haven't said that name in quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
Jeremy Pruitt is suing the NCAA
You-
for $100 million in lost wages.
He wants them to say his name 100 million times.
He filed the suit.
$1,000 bill hanging out with him. Is that his lawyer?
He filed the suit in DeKalb County, Alabama. In the complaint, Pruitt claims that the NCAA, quote, conspired with Tennessee, end quote, to make him, quote, a sacrificial lamb
The fall guy.
for
Yeah.
rules violations. He was fired in 2021 and later handed a 6-year showcase. He also claims in the suit that Tennessee was illegally paying players before he arrived, and he reported multiple violations to then Volunteers athletic director Phil Fulmer in
The
2017.
tea is coming out.
Show cause, not showcase. I'm sorry.
I am not. This is not revisionist history. I do believe that at the time
Mhm.
when that came down, my impression was, wow, they have put everything on him. Everything on him. They protected Philip Fulmer, who is, of course, revered as the coach. I don't think Philip Fulmer was completely smooth and did a great job as the athletic director, but they didn't want to make him look bad. And remember, Pruitt was the guy that Fulmer hired.
Mhm.
But they went out of their way to say, let me, like, I remember the speech. Maybe it was the president was like, let me just commend Philip Fulmer, how great he's been. And he's retiring. Remember, that's what it was. He kind of got out right after that. But he was given
Yeah.
the clean bill. You're out. Hey, what a great job you've done for the university. Philip Fulmer, what a legend. And he is for 99% of his tenure as a
Yeah.
player and as a coach. But athletic director was not great. It wasn't good.
Nah.
But it was all on Pruitt. He was the villain, the bad guy. Boy, what a despicable human being to
Here's-
all of these things. And he wasn't. He did do a lot of those things. But I can see how Pruitt goes. And I guarantee you, he is going to get some money out of this.
Here's a
He will.
key point of the suit from the actual complaint. Quote, in December 2017, UT hired Jeremy as its head football coach. Less than 1 week after being hired, Pruitt discovered that payments were being made to some players. At the time, NCAA rules precluded those payments, even though court cases had already called into serious question whether such payments could be prohibited. Pruitt immediately reported what he learned to the athletic director, Philip Fulmer. The athletic director told Pruitt that he would, quote, handle it and deal with the university's compliance department, which was charged with ensuring that the University of Tennessee was complying with NCAA rules. After his termination from the university, Jeremy learned that one or more individuals in the UT athletic department or boosters had systematically engaged in making payments to players at a time when NCAA rules did not allow such payments.
Well, there you go. It'll start coming out. Listen, he's gonna get I don't. He's not going to get the 400 million,
there
but he's
are-
going to get something in there, just so stuff like that won't continue to come out.
This goes back to the NCAA
Uh-huh.
as a whole, but you can go back to the last 30, 35 years. There are some really good lawyers that have made a killing representing coaches who have been fired as cheaters. And it's really not always because they weren't cheating. They did cheat to some degree. But when all the evidence comes out, a lot of schools will end up settling and paying those coaches because, first of all, the coach a lot of times has a ton of money owed to him or her left on their deal when they get fired, and they fire them for cause so you don't get any of the money.
Exactly.
So it ends up you have a lot of receipt. If he can prove what he's saying, he's going to get a big chunk of the money that he was probably owed on his contract. Because let's not forget, right before they did this, what did they do?
Gave him a new contract.
A huge new contract. After I think he had one decent year. They they beat the teams they were supposed to beat. They won a bowl game and things were really good. Let's give him an extension. And then not too long after that, oh, he's the worst coach ever. How could he do this to the program? He's brought the program down.
The lawsuit says the NCAA punished Pruitt for something that is no longer illegal. At the time of the hearing and punishment, the NCAA knew that the rules it was purporting to enforce were effectively made invalid by ruling of the U.S. Supreme Court. Jeremy Pruitt may be the last coach in America to be punished for impermissible player benefits.
Well, I mean, he's going to find a way, rightfully so. I mean,
It is
listen,
funny looking back on
if
that.
you think you've been unjustly fired, or they're blaming you or conspiring against you to make you the scapegoat, and you end up getting fired, especially after just signing a massive deal, an extension. Yeah,
And let's also remember that Tennessee was able to avoid big punishment by the NCAA because they were able to say, well, look, we got rid of Pruitt. It was him doing all this stuff. They didn't have to have a bowl ban or any major punishment, where it did look like for a while that when they were under investigation, they could get hit with some significant penalties. They avoided those. I'm sure that's going to come up in the case as well.
So we will
by making him the scapegoat, it helped Tennessee.
We will keep an eye on that lawsuit. Jeremy Pruitt suing the NCAA for $100 million in lost wages.
$100 million.
I can't remember if that's the total in Austin Powers.
I think it was. I think it was just $1 million.
It's only
$1
Yeah.
billion.
Yes, there we go. But
Yeah.
that'll do it for us today here on D. Mace, Finken, and Donick. The Predators are back in action tonight once again against the St. Louis Blues. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We will be live at First Horizon Park tomorrow.
Oh yeah, It's
for
gonna be
opening
nice.
for opening day.
It's
Derek.
technically opening day for
For
minor
for
league
AAA
baseball. Yes,
baseball?
AAA. It's technically opening day. They did it the right way, not like the MLB had one in Japan and then called this the opening day.
But
No,
we
you
will-
created this problem, MLB, so I'm gonna call it the opening day a couple of days ago or a week ago.
We will be out there. The Sounds open their season against the deliciously named Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. We'll see if there's a swine brew out there for me.
I hope there
Maybe a
is,
shrimp brew.
please.
Yes.
A jumbo shrimp brew.
Ugh.
What if the beer is cold? Will you drink it if it's see if it's cold? I can accept you drinking that, but a hot beer, no, man.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But that'll do it for us. Stoneman and Company coming up next.
Be love on your people and everyone around you. Have a blessed, safe, and wonderful Thursday. Peace.
Let's go.